Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, presented by Bookshare Audio, where reflection turns into growth and change becomes the path to renewal. Today, we explore one of the most timeless lessons ever written about adapting to life's inevitable changes. It is a story told in the simplest words, but its truth reaches the very core of human experience. It speaks about the ways people respond to shifts in life, work, and relationships, and how those who move forward with awareness and courage discover not only success, but peace of mind. Change is the most natural part of life, yet it is also what most people resist the hardest. When things no longer appear the way they used to, when the opportunities we counted on disappear, or when comfort turns into confusion, we feel fear, anger, or even betrayal. But hidden in that discomfort is life's greatest invitation to adapt, to move, and to grow. The central message here is that resisting change does not stop it. The world keeps moving, and those who learn to move with it continue to thrive. At the heart of this idea lies a simple metaphor. Life is a maze, and everything we value, whether it is love, money, success, or happiness, is represented as cheese. Some people search for their cheese with curiosity and lightness. They explore, adapt, and discover new paths. Others cling to what they once found, convinced that the supply will last forever. But the maze changes constantly, and the cheese never stays in one place for long. The key insight here is that our survival and fulfillment depend on our ability to recognize the small signs of change before the major shifts occur. The world gives clues. Relationships cool down, markets evolve, technologies advance, health declines, environments transform, but we often ignore them because we prefer the comfort of the familiar. In that comfort, however, lies the seed of failure. As time goes on, the people or organizations that once thrived fall behind because they did not pay attention to the handwriting on the wall, the quiet signals warning that the cheese is moving. Fear is what keeps us stuck. It whispers that if we leave our comfortable corner, we may find nothing better. But that fear feeds on illusion. Most people spend more time suffering in their fear of change than they ever do suffering from change itself. Once we take the first step, we realize the maze is not as frightening as we imagined. In fact, motion itself gives us strength. Each small act of courage reshapes our mind. Each new discovery becomes proof that we can survive beyond what we thought possible. Those who wait for life to bring the cheese back will keep waiting. Life does not rewind from nostalgia. What was once true may no longer serve us now. The job that once made sense, the method that once worked, or the habit that once felt safe might have already expired. The real tragedy is not losing what we had, but losing our willingness to begin again. The most powerful transformation begins when we stop asking, "Who moved my cheese?" and start asking, "What can I do now?" That moment of ownership turns resistance into responsibility. When we stop blaming others, the economy, or destiny, we regain our energy. We see that movement, not certainty, is the natural state of life. Imagination becomes our compass. Before we can find new cheese, we must first imagine it. Seeing ourselves succeeding in a new environment helps dissolve fear. Visualization transforms anxiety into anticipation. The mind starts to focus on what can be gained instead of what was lost. This mental shift changes our entire energy. Suddenly, the maze feels exciting rather than threatening. Adaptation requires both humility and alertness. Humility allows us to admit that what worked yesterday might not work today. Alertness keeps us observant for early signs of change so we can act before crisis strikes. Those who anticipate change never experience it as disaster. They see it as a normal rhythm of renewal. Simplicity is another crucial lesson. The more we complicate life with overthinking, pride, or excuses, the longer we delay our progress. The instinctive wisdom of those who act quickly often surpasses the paralysis of those who analyze endlessly. Thinking too much about why things changed wastes energy that could be used to explore new opportunities. Letting go is the art of freedom. The longer we cling to the old cheese, the heavier we become. Emotional attachment blinds us. We convince ourselves that holding on equals loyalty, but in truth, it often means fear. Real loyalty is not to the past, but to our own growth. When we release the outdated expectations, we make space for fresh experiences that might exceed what we ever imagined. The journey through the maze is not a straight path. It requires getting lost, retracing steps, and trying again. Mistakes are not failures, they are directions. The courage to continue after disappointment builds resilience. Each turn of the maze teaches us more about who we are, not victims of change, but participants in it. To embrace change fully, we must also laugh at ourselves. Laughter dissolves pride and breaks fear's hold. When we can smile at our own resistance, we start to soften. That humility opens the door to learning. The ability to laugh at our mistakes signals that we are no longer trapped by them. Another vital realization is that new cheese always exists. The abundance of life never ends, only shifts. What we perceive as loss often becomes the gateway to something better. Change does not destroy opportunity, it redistributes it. The world keeps evolving, offering new forms of joy and meaning for those willing to move. Preparedness transforms change from threat to adventure. Those who inspect their environment daily, who keep their shoes tied and ready, are never caught off guard. In practical life, this means constantly updating our skills, staying aware of trends, maintaining relationships, and never assuming that stability is permanent. Awareness is the best security. We also learn that waiting for others to change rarely works. Each person must take responsibility for their own transformation. We can inspire others by example, but we cannot drag them through the maze. The decision to move forward must come from within. The ones who choose to stay behind may eventually follow, but they must see their own need first. The deeper truth behind all these lessons is psychological. The maze is life itself, and the cheese is not merely success or possessions. It represents meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. Every time life shifts, we are being invited to rediscover these values in new forms. Growth requires continual letting go of what is familiar to find what is alive. When we look back, we often realize that the old cheese had already grown stale long before it disappeared. Change did not rob us, it rescued us from stagnation. The old comfort was already decaying, we just refused to notice. The pain we feel when life pushes us out of our routine is not punishment, but preparation. The ultimate wisdom is to expect change, to monitor it, and to enjoy it. When we anticipate it, we no longer fear it. When we stay alert, we can act early. And when we embrace it with enthusiasm, change becomes a game of discovery rather than a battle for survival. At its core, this philosophy reveals that life is not about clinging to cheese, but about becoming the kind of person who can find new cheese again and again. That is the difference between those who thrive and those who suffer. The thriving ones do not define themselves by what they lost, but by what they are willing to seek next. Even in times of uncertainty, this mindset empowers us. Whether in career shifts, personal relationships, or health challenges, those who move quickly to explore new options adapt faster and suffer less. They trust the process of exploration. They realize that every ending conceals a beginning. Awareness of change also encourages gratitude. When we understand that nothing lasts forever, we learn to appreciate the cheese we have while we have it. We enjoy each success without entitlement, knowing that it too will evolve. Gratitude makes transitions gentler, for it reminds us that the maze itself, the act of living, learning, and seeking, is the real reward. Another profound teaching is that change is personal. Each of us has our own maze, our own cheese, our own pace. Some people move faster, others slower. But the direction matters more than the speed. The important thing is to move, to not let fear freeze us into waiting for a return that never comes. Freedom begins where resistance ends. Once we stop demanding that life stay the same, we discover that we are stronger, more creative, and more adaptable than we imagined. The maze is vast, but within it are countless paths to satisfaction, if we dare to explore. By embracing this truth, we turned anxiety into adventure. Each new turn becomes an opportunity to learn something new about ourselves and the world. Instead of fearing the unknown, we begin to welcome it. We start to see that the greatest discoveries, both material and spiritual, exist just beyond the walls we were afraid to cross. Ultimately, this teaching reminds us that change will always happen, with or without our permission. The question is not how to stop it, but how to align with it. When we adapt willingly, we remain in harmony with life's flow. When we resist, we suffer. The choice between growth and stagnation is ours every day. In essence, the journey from fear to freedom follows a simple path. Notice the change early, prepare for it, let go of what's gone, move forward with courage, and celebrate each discovery. This rhythm repeats endlessly through every stage of life. It applies to careers, relationships, creativity, and even inner growth. The message endures because it is universal. Every generation faces its own moving cheese, new technologies, shifting cultures, evolving dreams, but the principles remain the same. The ones who sniff out change early, scurry into action, adapt their attitude, and keep moving are the ones who continue to find fulfillment no matter how the maze transforms. So the next time you feel life shifting under your feet, remember this: nothing stays where it was, but everything valuable can be found again in new form. Let go of what has ended, stay light, stay curious, and keep your running shoes around your neck. Change will always move the cheese, but those who move with it will always find more. This is Bookshare Audio, where every story reminds us to keep growing, keep exploring, and keep believing in renewal. If you found meaning in this reflection, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. Comment below the next book you'd like to hear. Your request might inspire our next journey together. Thank you.